Hello, Earthians. Welcome to the stream. We are live. My name is Zayon. For those of you that don't know, I'm the head of community for ERTHA, and of course, joining me today is Linus, the mastermind behind the ERTHA Metaverse. So, Earthians, let us know how you are feeling today in the chat, and Linus, how are you yourself?
Oh, this is a big day for ERTHA, so welcome everyone to this stream, and let's have a good time.
Perfect. All right, so let's just jump straight into it. So today we are here to introduce ERTHA Beta version 0.5. I think it's one of the long-awaited updates for the ERTHA Metaverse, and of course it introduces a demo environment for terraforming and building on land hexes. We have also implemented a lot of bug fixes and improvements to the already existing features in this patch. So yeah, this patch is really just quite loaded from the top, and it's very important for two things basically. So firstly, it's important for landowners to familiarize themselves with actually the mechanics of terraforming and building their own land. So we really want to get this experience to landowners before they actually start, spending ERTHA tokens on any terraforming changes or like thinking about what properties they're going to build on their own land. So that's the first thing that's very important about this patch. And secondly, it's really important for us to get feedback from you guys and from landowners about the things that you actually like about terraforming, the things you may not like about terraforming, and basically the things that can be improved. So we're really going to look for the feedback from the community about what's good about this patch, what can be improved, and things like that. We're gonna be waiting in open arms in the communities basically for your messages and opinions about what can be improved. So I think we can just go straight into it. Right when you download the patch, what you're going to see is, of course, our standard demo city. And then on the side of the demo city, we have added a whole new environment, which is called the Terraforming and Building environment. So it's basically a whole new other, it's the same size as the demo city, basically. And it's a free-for-all area to terraform and place buildings and do things like that. So here you can see it on your screen. We have basically made a sort of introductory city of what you can, create in this tool. And you can basically edit here anything you'd like. So if Linus just goes ahead and maybe shows like some of the terraforming features first, and then we can later on go into actually the building mode of things.
Yeah, so we have the menu that actually goes to different tools that we have here. So the mountains go to the terraforming mode. And yeah, so here you can see the terraforming mode. Most important thing to understand when we enter this mode is that we have to know how to use the camera. So the camera is controlled by WASD buttons or the number, arrow keys, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you can also rotate the screen with Q and E. So the mouse can zoom in and zoom out, just so that you could understand how to navigate through the city that you are trying to build. Yeah, and we have a few tools that are available. The first tool that will be automatically selected when you enter into this screen is the one that can build these beautiful mountains. So when I press a button, it uses these radius and strength pads that actually just raise the mountains here. So, but what we want here is to make this land into something useful where we can place our own city. Right, so let's just jump into it and try to remove this mountain from our demo view. So we have a tool that is actually used to make the land flat. And what I'm going to do here, since it could, essentially make a hole in the island, we have to, let's say, sample the height from our road. So let's press hold Shift and left mouse button, and I've sampled the height of the road. And when I just use my mouse and let's make a strength a bit bigger and radius a bit bigger, I can essentially make this mountain a flat area. So let's just do that. I will use that for
so imagine
stuff.
Imagine a realistic scenario where you have your land hex, you've already built some roads on it, you've built some buildings on it, and basically you want to expand, right? Let's say this is how you found your hex right from the start, and you want to expand your hex, right? So if you want to expand to the side, you're gonna have to, remove the mountain, basically. So what Linus just did there is just selected the ground flattening tool, sampled the land height that his city is already built at, and then just basically flattened the mountain down to the level he selected it at. And now you can actually see on your screen, basically you have different textures of the ground that you can also edit the terrain with. So when he destroyed the mountain, you obviously see some artifacts of the mountain left over. It's basically like a rock type texture from the mountain. So in order to remove that, you just basically go into this texture tool, and then you change the texture to whatever texture you want. Currently we have 4. We're gonna have more for sure. Currently these are basic ones like sand, grass, rock, and gravel, I'm pretty sure. So basically you can see that it's basically changed the ground texture from like the mountain. Basically the mountain is nowhere to be found anymore. It's like it was never there. And also another cool thing, you can just play around with this radius and strength sliders, and you can like create basic paths, I suppose, to really just, customize your terrain as much as you want. You can basically add beaches or whatever you want, a little tiny paths through trees. So basically make it as similar to real life as it possibly could be. So yeah.
Yeah, so I've created a beach here with a simple path for humans to just go there. So yeah, here we don't have the mountain, so we can try to use different tools to make the land a bit better for us. So this tool essentially can help me to remove some trees that I don't need here. So I'll just hold Control and left mouse to erase the trees that are here.
You may need to reselect all the trees on the... Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've removed these.
Yeah, so just as a short explanation of how the tree brush, quote-unquote tree brush works, it's basically you have 6 different types of trees, and you can select as many of them as you want at the same time. So if you select all 6 and you draw with the brush, you're basically going to get a mix of the 6 trees just placed around in random areas, And if you select just one, you're just going to get one type of tree. But if you want to remove trees, what you're going to have to do, if you want to remove all trees from this default, island environment, you're basically going to have to select all of them and just click Control and left mouse. So if you select only one tree, it's going to only remove one tree type. If you select all of them, it's going to remove all tree types, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the, I guess, building mode, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as you can see, basically, what Linus has done is just basically cleared this mountain and cleared the trees so he can then proceed to, build what he wants there. And of course, if you go out of this terraforming mode, you have to confirm that you actually want to make changes. Yes. Okay, so we are in the building mode now.
So yeah, I'm just gonna, let's say, design a bigger city in this area. So I'm gonna select the road that I want to place. Currently, it's best to use this road, the 5th one from the row. And let's just try to add some more here to have a road close to the sea. Yeah, and let's have this one.
I see a quick question in chat about the trees. If we were to hold down the button and didn't move the mouse, would it just make a really dense section of forest? Basically you play around with the strength and density, or density and radius sliders to get the result you want. Because if you max them out and you just hold your mouse in one place, it's just going to make a really dense forest. And if you just lower the density and just increase the radius as much as you can, it's going to make a really the trees are going to be spaced apart far. But going back to the roads.
Yeah, so I'm just doing, a little bit of road building here. We do have a bit structure that is showing, a higher height here. So currently our roads are placed in one, 2D layer, and we're working on a fix that would allow us to have those higher tiers where you could place your buildings on the mountains. But currently it's just, for the flat space. So.
Yeah, basically, when you place down the roads, in some places the terrain is just a little bit higher than the road itself, and it clips through. So if in order to fix that, to make it look good, you just go back into terraforming mode, you select down, you basically make the radius. Linus is going to show you here. You select the first tool, basically, the very first tool, and you make the radius and strength quite small, probably a bit bigger than that. Yeah, like basically the size of the road, and then the strength probably like 20% up on the slider, and then you hold control and you just click down just a little bit, and it should fix it.
Oh yeah,
you should. No, yeah, that was the correct tool, but you should hold control, I think.
Control, right?
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, and basically that fixes that for now, but later on we're basically gonna have a 3D environment for placing roads where they're actually, gonna kind of curve together with the terrain, so that's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, it will allow us to have a few different levels, but not exactly curving around a mountain like this.
Yeah. Of course, there's going to be like some sense to it, but yeah. So going back into building mode, I think we should probably talk about the actual
these colors.
Yeah, the colors that you see right here are what are called zones. And for those of you that have played like SimCity or City Skylines, they're going to be quite familiar to you. They're basically zones that you place certain types of buildings in. So Linus currently has selected the commercial zone. So commercial zone is currently green. Then the housing zone, that's the button with a little house on it, is basically going to be a housing zone that's blue. And then we have also an industrial zone that is going to be orangish red, basically. There we go. It's kind of a red color, yeah. We're probably going to flip these colors around, to be honest. I think, we kind of tried making something different, but I think we're going to the kind of like standard that's known in gaming. That's residential is green, commercial is blue, and then industrial is just red, yeah. Okay, and yeah, as you can see now, Linus basically has a selection of buildings that he can place around in the areas he's owned. So these current ones are commercial, basically office buildings, like maybe little offices or shops or things like that. So those are going to go into commercial areas. And you can just place them around basically where they fit, on the grid. You can just place them down. And then we also have, I think, one house type. I think we have only one. Yeah, there you go. And you can place these down in the housing zone area.
Let's place a few of them.
Yeah. So the thing about the assets that we currently have, I think have about 10 assets that currently can be placed, which is not a lot. These are basically the ones we already have ready, but we are actively working on tens and tens and tens of assets that are actually going to be in the game. So more building assets will be added on as time goes by, basically. So with version 0.5 and between 0.5 and 0.6, we're going to add a lot more buildings to test and a lot of buildings for the community to try and learn about.
Yeah, so what I've done is this button here can just delete the commercial zone here or any other zone if I'd like to. So essentially, what landowners will be able to do is they will be able to select areas where other people who would be, let's say, renting the land that will that will play the game. They will be able to set the exact areas on where people will be able to build different types of buildings. So because we have a MMO game where everyone can interact with the city and everyone can place their own houses, build their own companies and stuff. So landowner will have that power to establish how that hex looks like. he will be able to place all the roads, all the basic buildings such as, marketplace centers, university schools, even governmental buildings, and he will be able to place those zones where people will place their own buildings. So for example, if I would want people to place their houses only at this area, this is where I would select the house color, right, the house zone. But I can also select that people will be able to place their houses here, and they will be able to do that, but they won't be able to place houses anywhere else on the map, and that gives total control for the landowner to design their own land the way they want, and not have people place anything anywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, that pretty much answers the most recent question we have in chat. Basically, someone asked, if I'm not a landowner, if I'm just a player and I'd like to build a house or a business on some hex I like, should I pay or ask for a permit from the landowner? So basically, the landowner will have selected some zone that they would want some players to build something in, and you just basically go and build on that hex with already predetermined terms. Basically, before building it, you're gonna see like predetermined terms of what the landowner wants to like tax people with, and like what are the terms of the country when you build something there. So basically that. And I think Linus is like making the housing area a little bit cuter, I guess.
Yeah.
I think some trees would also look really good there if there were just some trees around the houses and stuff.
Let's just make a few roads here so that it would make sense, and that neighbors are neighbors. They would be able to interact.
Exactly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, sir.
No, it's all right. Let's place some also trees here.
So I see a question in chat. How will building on water hexes work? That's a really good question, I think. So mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, even water hexes will be able to, let's say, get some sort of terraforming in them, and by terraforming you can raise a mountain in an area that there's only water. So it is possible to, let's say, make a water hex somewhat useful. However, when we are going to release this functionality, making changes to the default view that you will get generated will be priced in ERTHA tokens. So the more, let's say, different terrain you want to have than from what the hex already has, the more ERTHA tokens it does cost. So making, let's say, an ocean into a land would potentially be a pricey operation. However, you will be able to place buildings on some sort of pods that are, that are floating on the water. So a few of stuff like helipads and some houses and some areas we will have those assets that will be possible to place there, and essentially to have, let's say, an oil rig that gets the resources from a selected location, a port that can essentially connect to the oil rig, and then get all the resources that are extracted from that location, be sent into a land location that would make sense, where it would have other factories that can do stuff there. So that's
makes sense. Another great question in the chat. Once you confirm the change, is it permanent or can we change at random? So I think this question has a few answers, basically. So if you're asking about whether like you edit something and you pay for it, and well, then it's kind of permanent, right? Once you pay for it, once you edit the terrain, it's permanent. But if you're asking about whether you can edit the terrain more than once, basically, maybe you change your mind later and you want, or you just want to expand. Maybe like Linus ran out of space in his hex right here, and he wants to destroy the other mountain on the other side, right? Well, you can always do that as well. You can go back into terraforming and you can basically edit down your land. So actually the zones that you place, well, currently you can zone pretty much anything anywhere, but with ERTHA 1.0, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have a limited amount of those zones available, and that's where the benefits of some hexes will come in, which will basically mean some landowners have more space, more zones to build stuff than others. Is that correct, Linus? Am I not straying away from the topic too much here?
I don't know. It's correct the way you say it, but I think, to answer that question, I kind of did a bit when we talked before. You will be able to change whatever you want. However, it will cost ERTHA tokens. But at this release, what we're doing here is we're giving you a demo hex, which you can essentially report bugs to us and show any input that we could fix in these terraforming and building tools. So we want to release that as good as possible, and we need people to essentially help us test that. So the start will be free for all the players that are currently in our beta version of ERTHA. And when we are going to release all of these for people to build their own lands, then we will then the landowners will be able to change their own land, and it will have a certain price for that.
Yeah, and whatever changes you do in this current demo mode, they're gonna save. Basically, if you reset the terrain or destroy anything, basically it's gonna save for your account or your local. And apologies, I think the stream is lagging a bit, but it should be fine. I think Linus's screen is just a little bit choppy, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, no worries. So basically, if you want to do some changes and then later on continue on what you were doing in this demo mode, then it's going to be fine. It's going to save for you, and you can just continue anytime you want. Yeah, I think we're just getting some... it's back. There we go. Perfect. Okay. I was worried there for a sec that the internet at the office was dying or something. I don't know. But yeah, and okay, so I saw another great question in the chat. Let's just cover this real quick and we'll move on to some other things we want to show off. So someone asks whether the hex is smaller than before. Basically, the size of the hex change. And I think this is just in general about the demo city and stuff. So before, in our previous beta versions, before our version 0.4, we had much bigger cities. Much bigger demo hex environments, and we are going to expand this demo hex as well, and your land and hexes will be bigger than this current demo environment. Basically, the way that we did this is we wanted to make sure we didn't overdo it before making sure that the performance on most people's computers is going to be fine. And now that we really had a lot of feedback about the playability, the demands of the ERTHA game on people's computers, it's basically safe to say that we can expand the demo hex by quite a bit. And it's gonna get larger, and we're gonna be introducing more and more different types of buildings that players will be able to familiarize themselves with in the game, so they are ready for V1. You're gonna see what different levels of warehouses maybe look like, or maybe what different types of housing or office or company types look like. So basically, it's gonna be this demo hex is gonna be a way to learn for people to know what to expect. Going into the actual economy, actual ERTHA version 1.0.
Yes. So essentially, we want everyone to try this tool and tell us whether you have any bugs or you have any suggestions that we could use. We want the game to look great, and people will use each of their hexes to play it. So our landowners will be the designers, of the hex. Obviously, we will give a predetermined design at first, and we will try to make it look good. But the landowner is able to do any changes that he wants to make it even better,
Yeah, exactly. And just mentioning reporting bugs, so we have a fully working feature of reporting bugs in game. So maybe Linus can show that off. Basically, you press escape, and there's in the top right corner, there's a bug report icon. You click on it, and you send your feedback straight to the devs. So whether it's if it's a clear-cut bug report, just provide as much information about it as you can, how to reproduce it if you can, and just send it straight to the devs. And if it's, your opinion about some tools or some ways to terraform or this and that, let us know in the communities, basically on discord.gg/ERTHA or in Telegram or on Twitter, wherever you prefer, basically. We're going to read all of it, and if there's good suggestions that are going to help the game, we are definitely going to look into it. So yeah. So that's that. Again, guys, feel free to ask any questions you want in the chat as you go. We also have some predetermined questions that we gathered during yesterday and the morning of today. I wrote some of them down that we got in the communities, basically, so we're also going to answer them a bit later on. So, okay, so Night Digger asks, if I plant trees, do they grow over time or do they stay the same? So for now, they stay the same. Maybe later on down the line we can look into functions where everything is dynamic, where trees maybe grow, but
our goal is to make so that landowners would have the design as they place it. So if they place a tree there, it will be there and it will stay there. However, we will make the let's say the environment a bit more live, so there might be grass elements or stuff like that also that will be moving from wind and stuff like that, but it's all in work in progress.
Yeah, exactly. One more question from Carlos. So he would like to know how many people, this is a question we get a lot, how many people are active in the development of the project?
Well, there's different stages of development that are done. Some people are developing the functions of the game. Some people are developing the graphics of the game, the assets, the trees that you see here, and stuff like that. So some people are working for the communities in the management and so on. So if we would, take all of these people, there would be potentially more than 40 people working on it, but some of them are freelancers, some of them are full-time, some of them are part-time. So
yeah, exactly.
It depends.
Because there's so many features like UI, UX, graphics, building assets, the actual code of the game, the backend, the marketplace, the function. Well, basically, there's so many things that certain people are dedicated to, and some that just go feature by feature. Basically, those that can hop around between things. That it's quite a feat to make a game such as ERTHA. Mm-hmm. And yeah. Okay, so if you plant trees and have the skill, can you cut them down for wood or etc.? Okay, so not exactly. So these trees that Linus was placing, they're basically, decorative, right? They're just decorative trees that you just make, that you place on your hex to make it look better, to make it look lively, more alive, But the actual wood resource that some hexes have, in order to get that wood, you're going to have to build what's called a resource gathering company. And in this case, it's going to be a wood resource gathering company. And that is basically going to let you to work in it, or let other players that you hire work in it. And you or other players are going to spend energy in order to gather that wood resource. basically. So it's not exactly like Minecraft, where you just go in and punch a tree down that you see on the street, but it's basically, it's basically a company has to get any resource that's wait, did your game?
I think we are stuck a bit, but
Okay, no worries. Yeah.
I'll need to relaunch it.
Yeah, again, guys, if you run into any issues, just make sure to report a bug reporting game, because it seems that Linus is stuck after he's tried to exit the Bybit building. So I hope that answers your question, Ghost. Let me see. Okay, can you increase the width of land by extending into the sea? Okay, so basically, any hex will have some sort of a border to it. And if there's water close to the border, then yeah, you can, edit the water to make land in it, so to say, and you can go right up to the edge of your hex. But pretty much every hex just has a predefined border. And how much roughly would it cost? It's very hard to say at the moment. And since, well, the ERTHA token is also always fluctuating, so...
The cost will depend on how different you want the hex to be, So if you have a clearly flat hex and you want to build big mountains there, it will be costly. However, if you just want, a simple hill there, it will not be at a big cost.
Okay, and we're back. The stream is back. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let me just quickly go through some questions we have that we've gathered from the chat, basically throughout the day from the communities. Okay, so the first question is pretty much answered already, but let's just quickly go over it to, just solidify the answer. In what areas will it be possible to change the landscape? So basically, you can edit any part of your hex that you want. Of course, if it doesn't already have, a building in that place. So if you already place down some buildings in an area, well, it's going to be not really possible to, build a mountain under that building, so to say, or something like that.
So it all will depend on these, let's say, these areas. If you essentially select an area and you allow people to build buildings or yourself to build buildings in there, the area will be fixed when the buildings are there. Currently, in this beta version that we're trying to get all the bugs out, you will be able to change them, delete the buildings, create new buildings and stuff. It's just for us to understand whether the game is working or not. But in reality, when you have other people who have built their houses there or their companies there, you will have to, let's say, keep the areas as they are. You will be able to move them a bit, but as a whole area by itself. So you have to make sure that when you design your own city, you kind of do these areas as, let's say, as easy as possible, so that you could fit them in any design that you will later on need. So it's potentially best to have, not such a custom design that I have here, but more of a plane of housing area, a plane of industrial area, and a plane of commercial area. So then you will be able to move those planes around and change, how they look like. But essentially, it would be best to just, let the city grow. So start from one side or from the center, and then, assign some places. Will we be able to make the hex a bit bigger? We are thinking about that. We are thinking that the hex will have a few abilities to improve it. So if you will improve it, we will potentially give you more area to work with. But it would be wise to use that area, effectively. So there's no need to have a huge hex that will be completely empty.
Yeah, perfect, exactly. All right, another question. Will I be able to build my buildings like in a sandbox, or will I buy design and architecture blueprints from you? Okay, so I think what this question means is basically whether you can build buildings in the design you want them to be, or whether the building designs are already pre-made. And yes, the answer to that is the building designs are pre-made. So for example, you have well, let's take the same like wood resource extraction company, right? So it's going to be like the same design for pretty much everyone. Maybe we have a few custom options down the line or something like that, but basically it's going to be the wood resource extraction company. If it's going to be an office, like a specific type of office is going to be like the same building design for everyone. And that's exactly what we're currently working on. We're finalizing a lot of these, very important buildings that are going to be found in ERTHA version 1.0. So basically, you're going to be able to see those models of buildings very soon. And yeah, I think Linas just found a hole in his in his road. That's
yes, exactly.
That's like Lithuanian roads. It's a simulation. All right. So let me just get through a few more questions. Okay, so how will exploration take place? Assuming it will require energy, but will it require any special skills, tools, or tokens? Maybe you can go ahead and answer that.
We will have a full, let's say, minigame for the exploration by itself. So I wouldn't want to spoil it out right now, but it will be possible to, let's say, explore the land and get new resources there.
Yeah, perfect. And also, can exploration take place during, and will it be affected by the terraforming process?
No, currently we want to keep the terraforming process and exploration separate, so that like in a metaverse, you can create what you feel is right for you. But the only thing that let's say that gives you stuff where you wouldn't be able to do anything that you want is that you get the specific resource depending on what land you have. But if you want that land to look like a paradise, you can make it look like a paradise. That's why we want to live in a metaverse, right?
Yep, makes sense. Okay, I'll just get through a few more questions, a few quick ones. If I have 2 lands in one account, can I transfer one land to another account? So currently no, but after ERTHA version 1.0, yes, you're going to be able to, have both of your lands in the same wallet. I assume you mean account wallet. So yeah, so you're going to be able to do that, of course, and you're going to be able to play on both your lands from one account. Okay, any burning plans? Also, any new exchange listings coming? Okay, so this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I think asking for exchange listings is very, very 2021 or like 2022. I think we're kind of past that. Yeah, it's kind of old school. I don't think people exactly understand what that really means in this day and age. There's just really no point, especially when we're listed on like 3 tier 1 exchanges already. So
yeah, I think the only exchange that we would potentially be looking forward to get is something like Binance, but to get there, it's not easy. You have to, it is pricey, and you have to essentially have them want to list you, and it's not a thing that we're looking at the moment, that we want at the moment. What we want to do is to create a game that would be interesting to play, that would gather people and that would have communities that work with each other, that create great cities, great nations, and that's what we are trying to build here. That's what we are focusing on. Anything that is token specific is we want to add let's say utility to the token, and all of these changes that we're doing for the whole terraforming and building, these will use ERTHA token, and anything that you will buy in our, let's say, marketplace from other people will also use ERTHA token, and that's how we support the price of it, so that it would have real utility, and it will be used in game for all the stuff that you will need to do. If you want to buy something in game, you will use ERTHA tokens to do that. So any listing opportunities, any stuff like that could potentially work as pump and dump schemes. We're not looking into that. If that happens, without our input, okay, but we are working for the game to build the game as great as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's a good point to mention that basically any exchange that wants can basically list any token they want on their own. Like, it doesn't have to be official. And be careful with that, guys. Like, there's sometimes like announcements floating on Twitter that the ERTHA token has been listed somewhere, when in reality it's just not official, and we're really not responsible for anything that exchange does. We're not partners with them. We don't know them. So be careful, guys. Again, the ERTHA token is already listed on KuCoin, Bybit, and Huobi, and you can also get that on PancakeSwap. So there's really no point in trying to pump something or dump something just with weird exchange listings or stuff like that. So yeah,
exactly.
All right. Okay, so we have a very broad question that I think, I mean, it's worth talking about. What is the final goal of the economy?
That is a very broad question.
Yeah.
I would like to know more about the question, what he thought.
Yeah, well, that's all we have. But I think the way I would answer it is, I think a fully sustainable player-to-player economy is really the end goal for ERTHA. Is basically, it's basically having a fully functional economy that is just run by the players, and we would just be overlooking to make sure something crazy doesn't happen, some like game breaking things or like dupes or whatever. We would be like the moderation force that just really makes sure everything is fair, everything is by the rules, and a free market driven by the players is, I think, what we would be looking at.
Yes. We really want that the economy would be alive, and that the game would be a mechanism, like a live organism that would essentially regulate itself. This is the goal. Obviously, we will need to do many fixes, many iterations to reach that, but that's what we're coming to. That's what we are working for. So yeah. To have a very healthy and active economy.
Yeah. Again, guys, if you have any more questions, feel free to, drop them in the chat. And just a few quick ones I have still is, will the blueprints be a tradable thing in game? And yeah, the answer to that is yes, as far as I know. Maybe there will be some sort of blueprints that are like character bound, but I'm not sure about that.
Some will, with the ones that make no sense to, let's say, trade, but the ones that have value, something, if you have a blueprint on how to build an airport, obviously that blueprint by itself is valuable, and you will be able to sell that to other people.
Yeah, exactly. And when can we drive our vehicles from Edition 1?
That's a good question. We want to release the lands first because the landowners are waiting for that for quite some time now, and we want to essentially make that functionality first. And when they do have their lands, and when you can travel to those lands, you will be able to use your own vehicles to do that. Essentially, in the city where you can enter any vehicle and move with it. However, that's a demo environment, and it will not be always like that. To actually use a car, you will need to own a car. So you can still use that if you want to at this demo time, to try out if it's cool to drive around a demo hex. But later on, you will be able only to use your own cars, and that will follow from the landowner update when they will be able to build on their own land.
Yeah, I think a very important thing to mention about Edition 1 as well is basically Edition 1 vehicles are, well, they were made to be really exclusive,
Yes.
the ones, well, basically you can see the sports car you can see already driving around in the demo city, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna talk to the devs, but we might add the edition one, the Aeon S20 and the Paragon. We might add those to the demo hex, just like these ones as well, just so players can, you know, can see something cool, basically. But again, later on, these vehicles that are going to be driving around towns, they're not going to be like as cool as these ones. They're going to be like basic, like imagine just a normal city in real life. You know, you see some 20-year-old cars, 30-year-old cars, you see some new cars, you just see like gray cars or like, you know, just black cars. They're not going to be flashy cars. They're not going to be like Edition 1 level cars. Edition 1 was really made to, you know, serve as like a
collectible
exactly, as a collectible item, you know, that players can, you know, choose to buy. And like we mentioned, the vehicles are also going to be made in the game, but they're not going to be Edition 1. They're just, you know, like they're not going to be as cool, so to say. And of course, some people find them cool, some people might, I guess, not find them cool. It's completely your personal preference, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I see a question in the chat that is players going to be able to design their own custom buildings? So it's a bit far to say for that. We want to make all the other functionality first to be available. That's why we already give you assets that you can use. But our goal is to allow people to customize their own houses. So talking about the interiors, there will be availability to customize that. So you've seen the Bybit interior, I've walked around the Avocado DAO interior. So you will be able to change how those interiors look like when you have your own home there, and essentially have your own stuff the way you want it to. But designing an asset that looks similar to this, is a bit hard, you know. So
it's very difficult, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want the city to look, let's say, bland or
like Minecraft dirt houses, basically.
Random.
Yeah.
So. But potentially, we are currently looking at our assets, and they will be available. We will have a lot of them. There will be a lot of assets to choose from. So I think you will find what you want to.
Yeah, and especially because they customize in levels and things like that. So yeah, and actually, I'm thinking some people seem to have joined like a little bit late. Maybe they've missed the terraforming and building part. Maybe we can, while we're talking, you know, you can just play around with it as well again, and just, you know, show the people that have just joined what we're introducing with version 0.5. Yeah, like the grids and everything. So okay, so I have another. So there's an interesting question. If a resource is located on a hex with a country border, will it be available in both countries? So this is kind of an edge case of the whole, you know, one hex being in two different countries thing. But I think when it comes to resources, it's mostly a thing for the landowner to extract, basically. However, the tax aspect, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work between the two countries. Maybe Flinus can elaborate.
Well, if you have a hex that has two countries, the country that controls it will be the one who has the most percentage of it. So that's the main idea how it works. And later on, when we will have wars between countries, any country can occupy any hex that they want. So it will change with time. So I think that answers the question, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, a very good technical question. If we wanted to terraform in the live game, would our hex be offline while we are editing it, or will it resync when we save the changes? So yeah, I think it's the second part, right? You would just edit it in your like local state, basically, and once you save it, I would guess it updates to other players.
You obviously will not be able to interact with other players while you're in the terraforming state, you will be able to do anything you want in kind of an offline state, and then that offline state synchronizes. We will potentially have to have some sort of a time delay for that to work, and then the hex will resynchronize and everyone will see what the changes that the landowner made.
Yeah, makes sense. It's just going to be basically a technical solution that's just going to, make sure the game doesn't like break in some crazy ways where, some players are online on that hex and then like go inside a mountain or something, I guess. we're going to have to figure it out, but yeah. Okay, another pre-made, well, pre-asked question, so to say, I have here is how will users create their locations, cities from scratch in different NFT points, or will some standard set of cities be provided? So I think what this is asking is if, for example, you own a city, whether basically a standard set of buildings will be provided. I think that's the question.
The owners of cities will definitely get standard buildings, and the ones who have big cities will get a fair amount of, let's say, already pre-purchased items for them to populate the cities so that it wouldn't be a plain space.
Yeah. I think the last time we were talking about it, we like thought about some tiers that maybe some, really, really big cities would get an appropriate level of, like buildings, since they're, well, maybe like something like Paris would even, like get unique buildings or stuff like that. And then like smaller cities would get some sort of, default smaller building types, and then just plain hexes like desert hexes or hexes that just have like some sort of forest would maybe just get like a marketplace for players to trade between, so they can like find resources and trade between hexes and things like that.
Yeah, true.
Right. Okay, another question. If you own a city hex and a basic land hex, would you be able to use your city hex assets on your basic land, one being that you own them both?
It is a good question. We are still deciding on how to do that, so both possibilities are currently available. If you have any suggestions that you think would be fair, you can also, do that in chat. But it's not yet decided.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're just going to go for a few more minutes. And I almost forgot, I need to mention, I think. So for those of you that are waiting to play this, basically you're going to be able to play in like the next few hours, maybe like less than an hour or so. Basically, we're going to finish the stream. The devs are going to start like pushing the patch to the live build. And it's just going to take them to, some time to get the patch on the live version, and then you're just gonna launch the launcher and it's gonna download the update, and you're just gonna be playing straight away.
Yes.
All right, so any more questions, feel free to ask anything you guys want. I think I ran out of pre-made questions. Oh, okay, so quick question. When will we be able to access our bot hexes? So I think this raises the question of basically ERTHA Beta 0.6 when? Question mark?
We are working really hard to make it a smooth process. So we already have the tools that you see, to allow you to do customizations to your land. However, they do have some issues we're trying to solve, and we are trying to ask for help from you guys to try them, to actually report any issues to us, so that when we release ability to terraform your own lands and to essentially use ERTHA tokens to do that, so that it would be working. So that's our goal. I hope it will happen as soon as possible. I do understand that people are waiting for that, and I'm waiting for that too, but I want it to be, working. So that's the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I also encourage everyone to, if you haven't already, go read our newest blog post about, well, it's called ERTHA Beta version 0.5 patch notes. There you're going to find pretty much every single thing we changed from going from 0.4 into 0.5. and you're going to find a list of features that we are actively working on to improve this mode. And there's also a list of known issues in this build, so if you run into an issue, make sure to check whether it's already a known issue or not, because if it's a known issue, we're going to get on it and fix it as soon as we can, so you don't really have to report it. But if you find something that's not there, then you should definitely report it, and again, you can do that by pressing escape and hitting the top right bug icon on the top of your screen. So yeah, there you go. I'm showing it off. Yeah, exactly. All right, so I think we answered all the pre-asked questions. So maybe let's just take like the very last question from chat, unless someone asks another question while we're answering this one. Do we need to purchase planes for airport?
It's similar to real life. You know, you will be able to use airplane to rent them out to use them. However, if you have a plane, it will be cheap for you to go from airport to airport. So yeah, that makes sense, because in real life, when you, I'm not an airport owner, unfortunately, but if I imagine, you know, basically you're not only going to, be an airfare company, so to say, but you're also like a place that other planes will, let's say someone owns a private jet, well, they need a place to land, they need a place to keep their jet, you know, they're not just going to keep it in their pocket. So it obviously makes sense that you as an airport owner, you know, other player planes will go through that airport, and then you could also have some of your own planes to have like a airfare company, or, you know, you can rent out the planes from the game, basically. Yeah, so look at that. We have a cool city extension that we built on this stream, and we have the demo hex here. So guys, just use that, play around with it, report bugs, and we're working to release the game for you. So thank you for your patience.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so as always, make sure to follow us on discord.gg/ERTHA, on twitter.com/ERTHAGame, and then, of course, hit the follow button right here on Twitch to make sure you never miss a stream. And yeah, if you have any other questions, if something pops into your head that you forgot to ask during the stream, just make sure to ask, you know, in the Discord, on Telegram, on whatever, and we're just going to get to it whenever we can. We're going to answer it. And yeah, again, huge stress on this, that we're waiting for feedback from the community, you know, and go read the patch notes post and go play the update in about 1 or 2 hours from now. We're going to put out an announcement when it finally launches. So yeah. All right, so wherever you're located, have a good morning, day, or night, and yeah, make sure to tune in to the next stream, and see you in the chats. Peace out, guys.
See ya, guys.